Have you ever wondered what really drove the man who put a universe in your pocket? We all know Steve Jobs as the co-founder of Apple, the visionary in the black turtleneck, but his journey from a college dropout to a tech legend is filled with untold stories. Moments of crushing defeat and sparks of genius that are far more fascinating than the myths. This isn't just about iPhones and MacBooks. It's about the relentless, often difficult human being who changed our world forever. Born in San Francisco and adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, Steve's early life was anything but ordinary. His biological parents, two graduate students, had one condition for the adoption: that he would go to college. The Jobs family promised, and they scraped together every penny to send him to read college, an expensive liberal arts school. But Steve, ever the rebel, felt it was a waste of his parents' life savings. After just one semester, he dropped out. But dropping out wasn't an act of failure. It was an act of freedom. He was no longer bound by required classes. Instead, he could drop in on any course that piqued his interest. This is where one of the most crucial, yet often overlooked, chapters of his life begins. He famously dropped into a calligraphy class. At the time, it seemed utterly useless. He learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the space between letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, and artistically subtle in a way science couldn't capture. He found it fascinating. He had no idea how this would ever apply to his life. But 10 years later, when he and Steve Wozniak were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to him. The Mac became the first computer with beautiful, proportional fonts. If he had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. His curiosity, his willingness to follow a path with no clear destination, laid the groundwork for the aesthetic we now take for granted on every screen we own. Before Apple even began, Steve embarked on another life-altering journey. In search of spiritual enlightenment, he traveled to India with a friend. He spent 7 months there, living a minimalist existence, studying Buddhism, and searching for a guru. This trip profoundly shaped his worldview, instilled in him a deep appreciation for intuition, simplicity, and design, the clean, minimalist aesthetic that defines Apple products. You can trace its roots back to the Zen principles he absorbed during this spiritual quest. It taught him that the most powerful things are often the simplest, and that user experience should feel intuitive, almost spiritual. In 1976, back in his parents' garage, the Apple I was born: Jobs, the visionary marketer, and Wozniak, the engineering wizard, were the perfect duo. But as Apple grew into a billion-dollar company, Steve's intense, demanding, and often abrasive management style created friction. He was a perfectionist, pushing his teams to their limits, famously calling their work insanely great one moment and garbage the next. This passion, while responsible for groundbreaking products like the Macintosh, also made him a difficult leader. Then came the unthinkable. In 1985, following a power struggle with the board of directors and the CEO he had hired, John Sculley, Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the very company he had created. He was only 30 years old. He later described this as devastating, feeling like the focus of his entire adult life was gone. For a while, he was a public failure, a Silicon Valley pariah. The world watched, thinking this was the end of his story. But what felt like an ending was actually a new beginning. He said that the heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. This period of exile turned out to be one of the most creative of his life. He founded Next, a company that built high-end computers for universities and businesses. While Next wasn't a huge commercial success, its software Next Step was revolutionary. It was incredibly advanced for its time. Simultaneously, he bought a small computer graphics division from George Lucas and turned it into Pixar. Yes, Pixar. Under Jobs' leadership, Pixar went on to create Toy Story, the first ever feature-length computer-animated film, and completely revolutionized the animation industry. He had done it again, changing an entire industry from the outside. Meanwhile, back at Apple, the company was floundering. Without Jobs' vision, they had lost their way, releasing a confusing array of products and rapidly losing market share. By 1997, Apple was on the brink of bankruptcy. In a desperate move, they bought Next for its advanced operating system. And in a stunning turn of events, Steve Jobs returned to the company he had co-founded. His return was electrifying. He immediately streamlined the chaotic product line, famously drawing a simple 4-quadrant grid and declaring Apple would only make 4 products: 1 consumer desktop, 1 pro desktop, 1 consumer portable, and 1 pro portable. He killed dozens of projects, refocusing the company with ruthless clarity. He forged a controversial but life-saving partnership with Microsoft. He re-energized the company culture with the Think Different campaign, celebrating the rebels, the troublemakers, the creative geniuses, people just like him. This set the stage for the greatest second act in business history. Starting with the iMac in 1998, Apple launched a string of hit products that didn't just sell well. They defined culture. The iPod changed how we listen to music. The iTunes Store changed how we buy it. The iPhone didn't just reinvent the phone, created the entire mobile app economy and fundamentally changed how we live, work, and communicate. Then came the iPad, creating an entirely new category of device. Each product was a testament to his core beliefs: the marriage of technology and liberal arts, the obsession with simplicity, and the unwavering belief that the user's experience is paramount. He wasn't just building gadgets. He was creating tools that empowered people and enriched their lives. Steve Jobs' story is not a simple tale of genius. It's a story of passion, curiosity, and incredible resilience. It's a reminder that our biggest failures can be the catalysts for our greatest successes. He wasn't just a CEO. He was an artist who saw the future and relentlessly dragged it into the present. His legacy isn't just in the devices we use every day, but in the idea that with passion and a little bit of rebellion, one person really can change the world. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into the life of a true legend. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories behind the icons. And let me know in the comments which part of Steve's journey surprised you the most. We'll see you in the next video.